regarding this issue. I want to take this opportunity to shed light on the Spanish system, which I earlier talked about. It was during the first campaign in 1997 that I started talking about Spain's approach to their organ shortage. I continued talking about their system, and soon it was making national headlines. I would like to share some of my insight to get the record straight on this system and how Canadians feel about it. First of all, from all my experiences talking to Canadians about Spain's system, the response has been that they are in favor of this system. And I have literally talked to millions of Canadians throughout the last 12 years. There has been, however, a lot of misconceptions about Spain's system, including the name that's been used by critics and the media to describe it, and they use the name presumed consent. This term alone is misleading and destroys any attempt to accurately define this successful system. It puts a negative connotations when they see a headline that says presumed consent. It's like the government's going to own your body now, you know. And the accurate name is the Spanish model. And the reason for the Spanish model's success lies in combination with not only their system of opting out, but also all the medical advances, the way they manage their system, their attitude, their perception, and their desire to reach the full potential. And that's what's lacking here in Canada and most of the countries throughout the world. One of the most misleading myths about the Spanish system is that their government owns their citizens' body parts. And that is so far from the truth. In fact, the family is always approached before and asked for their consent before the process of organ donation continues. The reason they created the opt-out system, and it became law in 1989, the reason they created the opt-out system was to address the administrative shortcoming. And by creating this law, it was a very effective tool as well. And that only makes sense. In all my experiences going through Canada and talking to millions of people, almost everybody wanted to be an organ donor. And so if that was the case, why is Canada still suffering with one of the lowest rates? Obviously, one of the reasons is it's an administrative shortcoming. People either don't have the time, even though they have the desire, to either sign the card or become an organ donor. And then, as George Smitherman's panel 2 years pointed out, the donor card becomes useless. So why don't we address this if we know that this is part of the shortcoming? That's why the Spanish government and the Spanish people were smart enough to create an opt-out system. It doesn't take your freedom away. It just makes trying to save a life easier. That's why I support MPP Frankly's bill and Peter Cormo's. I support both their bills because both their approaches is to address this administrative shortcoming. Our government, provincial and federal, would be better off if they educated themselves in the Spanish system. It's really that simple. If they took the time to go to that country and you know, I mean, I'm talking about not a blue ribbon panel that would go there to study the Spanish system. I'm talking about a serious panel that is going there to get some answers. They would become educated and they would become armed with enough tools to help change the system here. So getting back to the announcement for today. Okay, so during these past 6 campaigns, the heart and soul of our campaigns were the students that participated. In 2004, if you all remember, Christopher Knowles, a 14-year-old boy, carried the torch of life across Canada. Christopher was in need of a liver transplant. And during his campaign, he inspired an army of students right across the country in thousands of different schools to get involved with this issue. In 2007, and this is just recently, over 100 students represented their communities by carrying the torch of life. So if we look at the time scenarios here, Christopher was 14 years old in 2004, and we were mostly visiting high schools. So all these students were in grade 9. So when we did the SOS 4000 student torch relay, we went back to most of these schools, and by this time, the students were in grade 12. And most of these students were so inspired by what Christopher did that they became educated on this issue, and one student was chosen in each city to be the torch representative, and sort of like an ambassador. And it was like taking on Christopher's role, because their role included talking to the media, talking to the public, doing photo ops, and the whole community got behind this, what we called Student Torch Champion. And that was very successful. In each of the communities, these young champions inspired the public, media, and government, and usually made front-page headlines. On January 30th, 2009, these students are going to receive medals for their outstanding performances. It's going to happen here in Toronto, probably here in Queen's Park. The Torch of Life also shares a big stage with the students. On June 20th, 2000, the torch was officially lit up and carried across Canada as a symbol to encourage organ donations and give hope. Millions of people carried the torch, including thousands of Canadian politicians, celebrities, and one big celebrity, Pope John Paul II. The Pope blessed the torch on September the 5th, 2001 at 11:05 a.m. And I know that because when I looked at the video afterwards, it said the time, so I remembered the time. He called organ and tissue donations a genuine act of love and encouraged the entire world to become organ donors. He also urged me, and this is very important and very relevant to my announcement today, he also urged me to get the students involved when I was going back to Canada. But he didn't mention just get students involved in Canada. If he would have said, look, just get students involved in Canada, I probably wouldn't be making this announcement today. But he said, get students involved. The Torch of Life has been blessed by many other religious and very important figures. They all share this vision with the torch that it will be on a long and prosperous journey. And, during the last 8 years, the torch has been on a great adventure. Before I seen the Pope, we were at a sweat at an Aboriginal community. And one of the medicines men in the sweat, we brought the torch inside the sweat. And as he was looking at the torch, he started sharing a vision that somebody very important was going to receive this torch soon, and all he could see was white. And 2 months later, I was passing this torch to Pope John Paul II. And this torch has had so much history, and from people that have, many events took place right here where people were literally with weeks left to live. And we brought the torch here to pray around the torch, and hopefully they got their gifts. And it happened so many times. People were witness to that. It happened so many times here and so many places throughout the world as well. And so I believe that there's been so much love and power that has been put into this torch